Okay, so chapter 10, I said this is the last chapter for Excel. It's about data tables, scenario managers, and solvers. So we have, as I said, we have the break-even analysis, and this chapter will help you find where your business kind of like break even between your incomes and your expenses. The analysis here called what-if analysis. For example, if you have an input variable and you want to know if this variable changes, how that affects the totals or functions that in the table. So what-if analysis, we have data tables, scenario managers, and goal seeker. It's not in the title, but it's there. And solver is kind of an advanced function for that. At the beginning, we're gonna start about a little bit preview about the break-even analysis, what it is. It's extended in the book, so you can go and read it. But then we're gonna do the what-if analysis that includes data tables, goal seek, and scenario managers. And later we're gonna talk about the solver. So solver is an add-on feature to Excel. Other companies create their own solvers. There are so many ways to work with solvers. Excel, they have their own solver mechanism or application. And we're gonna see how to add that and work in it. I'm gonna jump into this diagram. I think it's a good illustration. So the break-even point, your business, like if you're selling stuff and you're getting revenue, but also you have expenses, you have fixed costs and variable costs, and these also accumulate over your business period. The point where your revenue meets your expenses, that's called the break-even point. Okay, so let's say you have to sell 1,000 of this product in order to cover all the expenses. So the one product that you will sell over the 1,000, then you're gonna make profits out of that, okay? Below that point, you're just losing money. You're paying more than what you get, okay? So in Excel, it will help you to determine what-if analysis. What if I increase my sales into this amount? What if I change my price into this amount, okay? So it will show you how to your income or total benefits gonna change. So let's start by example. If you want to download the book that comes with the slide for the break-even analysis worksheet. My mouth is dry, I don't know why. So for example, here, you think about this as a revenue. So this is your revenue section where you have number of clients and the golf listens. So it's the same result that we're talking about. And they're giving golf lessons, okay? And the lesson costs $125 per lesson. So it will tell you that we want to determine how many number of clients we need in order to break even, okay? So you have also expenses. You have fixed cost expenses there. This is you're going to pay regardless of the number of clients you have. So you have managers, you have utilities, you have equipments and insurance. You're going to pay them regardless. That's why it's called fixed. But also we have variable costs, including the instructor commission and supplies per client. So any clients will come to you, you'll provide them some supplies, okay? Like books and tutorials and stuff. And that's cost about $10. But also the instructors take commissions. So whenever a client comes, he pays this amount, the $125, but the instructors take 10% out of that. So that's it's called the variable cost, because every time you get a new client, that variable cost changes, okay? So let's start by saying, okay, I want to know the gross revenue for my total save. So I say this is gonna be so the total here, if I change the number of clients, if I say that I have 2 clients, then my total is going to be this amount. If I have 2 clients, 5 clients, what is that? The same. This is not the sum, sorry. This one equals the total number of clients multiplied by So it's like that. Fee. Okay. So if you have one client, you're getting that amount. If you have two, and you're getting that amount, and so on. Okay. So this is your gross income there. For your total fixed cost, you're going to use the sum function there. This is your total. For the instructor's commission, you get 10% out of that amount there, the gross income. So we'd say 10% multiplied by the gross revenue. This is what the instructors get out of that. And the clients here, they'll get this amount times the total number of clients. What is it? So the 10% multiplied by the gross revenue. Okay, so yeah, so the instructors will get 10% out of that gross income. So that's the multiplication. Okay? Yeah.
Wait, what did you do for
D13? This is the sum. This is the sum function. Yeah. So we're summing all of the fixed cost expenses. Okay. I'm copying that right from the book.
Then the supplies would be that times.
Okay, so the total variable cost is going to be the sum of these two variables there. And the total expenses are going to be the sum of the total of the fixed cost plus the sum of the variable costs. Okay? And you...
I'm sorry, what did you do for D16 again?
D16. D16 is just the multiplication of this cost per the number of clients. So D8, all right? So your net income is going to be your total revenue, your total gross revenue, minus your total expenses. Okay? So now our revenue is just our expenses, which is minus 6,000 something because we don't have any clients, all right? So imagine this is your simplest form of your business, okay? And you want to know when to break even, how many clients you need in order to cover all your expenses. You want this to be zero. You want to be breaking even. So one way of doing that is just go and try different numbers, okay? So say if I have 10 clients there, then I'm still losing money, okay? Just go up there to 60. If I take 60 clients, I'm still losing about 300 something or 400. If I go, for example, to 70, I'm start gaining profits, okay? So my breaking even point is something between 60 and 70, okay? So I will just, this is called a trial and error. So you can try different numbers and say, okay, this is 65. Okay, with 65 clients, I'm earning 119. If I go down a little bit more, I get like 63. I'm losing 85. So I assume it's going to be like 60, 64. It's about my break even point is about 64. Okay, because in here I get 17. So, yeah. This slide over a little bit like that. This is called the trial and error. So you could try different numbers and see that, yeah.
I tried putting in numbers so for clients and it won't.
In here?
Yeah.
Did you configure this correctly? So is this D4 and D5?
The gross revenue.
Yeah. D4 multiplied by D5.
Yeah.
Okay. This one is the sum of D9 to D12. Yes. So this one is C15 times D6. The next one is C16 and D4 multiplication. This is the sum.
Sum of
D15 and D16. Then the next one is D13 plus D17. So this is the total.
D16.
This is plus. So this is the total expenses. So If you're getting any of these incorrectly, you're going to get different or incorrect values.
Oh, and then
Okay. So now this is called a trial and error. So it's a manual way to figure out where your point is, but Excel have a different way to do that. You can go to data, and we're going to use something called what if analysis. Okay, there are like three functions that we can use to kind of like solve such a problem. Okay, instead of doing that manually. So here we are only manipulating only one input value. What about if you want to change two values simultaneously? Okay, so we're going to use something here called data table. We're going to use it in this area. So for example, here, my expense is going to be, the value of the expenses here is going to be the total expenses. Is it that? Total is the total expenses. So the value here, there's a setup for doing the data table, okay? So you have to determine, you put the equal sign and you put the value that comes from this function or formula. This is your going to be expenses. Your revenue is going to be this value, the gross revenue. And your net income is going to be that one, okay? This is a setup. So you have to set this up in order for Excel to know which values he looks for, okay? Now we're going to change the values here, the total clients, from 10 to 20 to 13 to 40 until 100. So what we make is that Excel will put 10 into this value, into this cell, and you calculate all of these expenses, the expenses, the revenue, and the net incomes, and just place it here, and put the 20, and put the values there, okay? So it'll just keep it for you instead of like losing the amount of here. So if you go like 80, then the values are changing, but you cannot keep track of these changes. This one will help you keep the track. So here you just put the equal sign and the value that comes from that cell. Then you're gonna go and select the whole range. So from G4 all the way to J14. You're gonna go and click what if analysis, and you click data table, okay? So here we're only changing one variable, which is the column input, which is these inputs. So we're gonna put these inputs one by one into this cell, the D4. So you select this area here, and you click D4, okay? What if analysis, so you go to data, then what if analysis, you have data table. Everyone follows, okay? So what's gonna happen there is that Excel will take this value 10, plug it there, and you see all the values that comes from expenses, revenue, and net profit, or net incomes, and place it in this row, okay? You keep doing that for all the column values. That's why we're using the column. If these values are in the row, so using this one, okay? And we can see later, we can use both. So we can use two variables changing. So if you go and click OK, you'll see that if you have 10 clients, your expense is going to be this amount, your revenue is going to be this amount, and your net income is going to be this amount. So you lose it. So you can keep track of your net incomes based on the number of clients, okay? So you can see that as you increase the number of clients, your total income or net income is going to increase. So your break-even point is somewhere between 60 and 70, because here you're losing money and here you're making money, okay? This way you can keep track of the values instead of just changing the values there, like you know which your point is. So for example, here, if you decided to change the golf lesson fee, for example, you could just instantly see the changes in this table without actually making more further changes. Later, we can see also, we can manipulate two values instead of one. So see that data table can allow us to pick two variables. So the next one going to be, this is something for you I want you to try maybe later. So it's the same thing. You're going to use the data table. But I'm going to use this one now. So it's Same values that comes from this table. So we have the total clients, the listen fee, the gross revenue, the fixed cost, the variable cost, and the net income. But now we want to change the number of clients here. And we also want to change the listen fees. What if I change the listen fees from 150 to 120 and so on? Okay, so I'm using two variables now instead of one. So this is the raw values, and this is the, what is it called, the column values. Here I'm going to place the total net income. Okay, so I go on this equal, and I will put this value there. What Excel will do is that it will take 120 and put it as a listen fee and 45 as the total clients, and calculate the net income and place it there, and do that for the whole table. Okay, so what you're going to do is the same thing. You're going to select the whole range from E3 all the way to L16. We go to data, what if analysis, click data table. So now I'm going to use both of these fields. So the row, this value is going to go to the listen fee. So this value is going to go to this cell. And the columns here is going to go to the total clients. Okay. And now Excel calculated all of them for you. So you can see that this is your best chance. If you're increasing your or the listen fee is 150, so this is your best price. That it's not recommended to go and reduce your price because you're going to lose money. If you reduce the price, you're going this way, but while keeping the same amount of clients, you'll see that you're losing money, which is expected, right? Good. You know the difference between one variable, two variable, what if analysis? Okay. This is the setup. So what is like Excel needs an area where you do the calculation and copy that calculation from somewhere. So this is where you're gonna put it if you have like one output. Okay, so here you want just to know the net income. So you're gonna place it there. So what Excel will do, if you're gonna slow this really, really, really slow, because Excel is so fast. So if you slow this very, very slow, you'll see that Excel will take 120 and plug it there, okay? And it will take the 45 and plug it there. And you will do the calculation. That calculation that will appear here, okay? And it will take that value and place it here. And it will not go to the next one. So you're gonna take the 125, plug it there, keeping the 45 as it is, do the calculation, see the value there, and just put it there. So you see that's kind of either filling it this way, then go down, or maybe.
The middle part's the net income.
Yes, so this is the net income that comes from this value. That's why Excel wants to know what to report. If you put this here, you're gonna report this one. If you put, for example, the variable cost here, it will report the variable cost, okay? So this is what you want Excel to report inside the table, okay? In this example, we wanted to report 3 different things. That's why we put the expenses, all these expenses, right? Okay, this will help you find, as you said, your break-even point, so you know what's, it's kind of like asking yourself, what if my number of clients is this amount? What's going to be the result? What if my price increase this amount? What's going to be my result? So that's what if comes from, okay? Goal seek also is something similar to what we did here. Let's say you have these inventory items. So you have, for example, golf balls or golf balls, and you already set the price for this one, and your goal is to get 25,000 as a sale, okay? So you want to know how many you need to sell at this price in order to get your goal. This is called a goal seeker. So for example, our goal here, we want the income to be at 25,000. And we already know the price. The price is 32. So how many we need to sell in order to get our goal? So for example, you go to the this field here, which is the calculations of both these two cells. You go again to data, what if analysis, and goal seek. So you want this cell, okay, the E5, to be at 25,000. You set the goal there, okay, you put this goal. By changing which cell, you want to change the value of this cell, the quantity. What Excel will do is just randomly put quantities there, starting from low and going up high, until you see like which quantity will meet your goal, okay? So if you click OK, Excel decided that you have to sell 781 of that item in order to hit your goal, okay? Same thing here. For example, you already know the quantity. You have 250. You want to decide the price, okay? That gets you to a goal of 12,500. Yeah.
And then I selected 5 to set value and 2 value. So I type in 5,000.
Yeah. So the second value type is, so this one is E5, and here you type the 25,000, okay? And by changing cells, you're going to change the quantity cell, okay?
Oh,
The same thing here. We're going to determine the price that will give us a total goal of 12,500. So this is our set cell. You go goal and seek. And this value should be 12,500. And now by changing the price, so we want to determine which the best price that's going to take us to the goal. So Excel will try different prices, and I'll tell you that you should sell it at 50. Okay, so if you sell this at 50 with 250 items, you're going to get your goal. Okay. Similar here, you go and click what if, goal seek. Now you want this to be at 4,250. Oops. And now you're also changing the price. So Excel determined that it should be a 42. And finally, you're going to do this the same thing. With our goal is 18,675. And here we're changing the quantity. Of course, sometimes this doesn't make sense because you cannot sell point something of a product. So you might go and change the decimals. Just make it an integer, so a real number. Good, yeah.
is there a way to just have it automatically?
Yes. So we're going to see how it's going. So the third function that we're going to use in this analysis is called the scenario manager. The scenario manager, you create one of these scenarios that we tried, you give it a name. So you say, okay, my best chance is going to be this one, my worst chance is going to be this one. And you can see a report that will tell you which scenario is best for you. For example, if you go to, I'm using this for the scenario, yeah. So if you go to profit forecast, we're going to do the same thing. So we have the revenue here, the expenses, and the total expense and net value. So for example, here the gross revenue is going to be, is it the multiplication? That's a 50,000 retail sale. I think the gross is going to be multiplication, right? So we multiply this by that.
Why don't you just sum them?
This is the sum, right? Because this is a little bit confusing. So you have the retail sale. This is the total sale. And this is the also kind of like sales because license fees. So I assume this is a sum, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is the sum of your revenues and also the sum of your fixed costs. And this is the total fixed cost. This is your variable cost. So it's going to be 15% commission out of the gross revenue, I think, maybe. So it's going to be 15% from the gross revenue. And then your total expenses is going to be the total fixed costs plus this variable cost. And your net income is going to be the gross revenue minus total expenses. Okay, so let's say you want to create scenarios where, okay, if my retail sales became 100,000, what's my total income is going to be? Okay, and you want to save that as a report. You say like, our best chance if we get 100,000 in sales here, our revenue going to be this. Our worst chance, for example, if you get 25,000 here, what's our revenue going to be? So we want to change this. They want to change these two values there. So you say, I want to know if my retail sales increase or decrease, how that's going to affect my business. Yeah, you can see it. So the commission here say like 15%. It's from the gross revenue. So the employees will get 15% out of the D9, which is the gross revenue. Okay. So I want to change these two values in a scenario. I want to say if changes happen, it's not making changes. If changes happen, if my sales increase or decrease, how is that going to affect my total income or net income? So you go to data and use something called Scenario Manager. And you're going to click Add. And you say like, if this scenario is like 50,000 here and 200,000 is your most likely sales is going to be. So I'm going to name this as most likely. And the values that are changing are the D4 and D5. So these two values I'm going to change. I'm going to click OK. So I would say I will keep the same values there. So this is a 50,000 and this is a 20 or 200,000. Okay, I'll just keep the values there and click OK. So this is most likely scenario. But what is my like best chance? Okay, so if my best chance is going to be 100,000 there and maybe 250 there, I want to see how that's going to affect me. So I would go and click Add. I'll write best. I'm keeping the same values for D4 and D5. But now I would say this is not a 50, this is 100,000. Okay? And this is not a 200, I will add the 250 there. Okay? I click OK. So now I have two scenarios there. My most likely and my best. So if you click on the best and you click on show, you see that the value is changing there. If this is your scenario, the best, you get 100 here and 250 there, you're going to get this amount of sales. But if you want to see your most likely one, you click in it again and click show. So you can alternate between seeing different scenarios by doing that. Let's create a third one. Let's say like my worst scenario, okay? If you go here and click worst, and you're still changing the values for these two cells, you click OK. Now it's not 50, let's say it's 25,000, okay? And the listen fees goes to maybe 75,000, okay? So now you have three scenarios there. This is your best or most likely. You click this one and show. But your worst scenario is this one. So if you click on that one, you see that the values there is changing, okay? You can print this as a report. So if you click on summary, I'm gonna use the scenario summary there, and our results gonna be the net income, okay? And click OK. And you get a new sheet that will tell you this is the current values, this is your most likely, and this is your best chance, this is your worst chance. So if you're changing the values in these cells, you're getting these incomes, okay? So you can build different scenarios based on your business needs. For example, if I hired more employees, if I increase my price, if I, like you keep the scenario of these changes, give it names, and put it as a report. So for example, you give it to your managers and say like, okay, this is what happens if we do these changes, okay? So good so far? Okay, so we covered the three functionalities of what-if analysis. All comes from this, so data table, goal seek, and scenario managers. They all kind of like go around the analysis where you want to know the break-even points and what if you made changes and you see that's affects your income or total income. Last one is called the solver. So far, what we manipulated is that we manipulated the income, the input values. For example, in this one, these are your input cells, okay? This is your output cells. So you manually enter values into your input value cells and observe what's happening at the output cells, okay? The solver works the way around, okay? The solver, you would say, I want to maximize my output. I want the maximum profit available. What kind of inputs I need based on certain constraints. For example, there are limitations for everything. You have budget limitations, you have regulations like how many employees you can hire or something. But you want to increase or maximize your income or net income based on some constraints. Excel will try to maximize it by changing these values for you. So, okay, so you want to specify the input values. Excel will try different input values trying to maximize your net income, okay? This is called a solver, right? Solver, so many companies are building solvers. There are so many different techniques in that. Excel uses pre-embedded techniques. But if you go more into econometrics, you're gonna see that there are more ways to do solvers. Solvers is an add-on function, so it's not available by default. You're gonna find it there in the analysis, but you have to actually add it to your Excel. So let's go to File, Options, Add-ins, okay? So here we have the Manage Excel Add-ins. You click Go, and you're gonna find the Solver add-in. Put a tick on that one and click OK. Okay? All find it? This one, solver. Okay. So you put you select it and click OK. Now if you go to data, under analysis tab, you're gonna have something called solver. So for the solver, we also have the setup. So we already have the setup here for you, so you don't have to do it. So we have our gross revenue, we have the total fixed and variable cost net incomes. And now what we want to try is that we want to maximize the net income. So if you go and click solver, it will ask you what is your objective. Your objective here is to maximize this value. So you're going to select this one, D20. Okay, this is your objective value. Solver can do either maximize, minimize, or put a value of. Okay, so it will try to maximize this value for you or minimize it. For example, for minimize, you want to minimize the cost. So the way around is that you want your total expenses to be the minimum. Okay, or you can set it as a specific value. For this example, we're going to use the maximum by changing which variables. Okay, so for here, we're going to change these two values there, the total clients and the instructors in duty. Okay, so we're going to select both of these cells. So Excel will try to maximize this value, which is your net income, by changing the values into these two cells. Okay, automatically it will try different numbers and keep them in their memory until it finds which one yields the maximum income, and then return the values there. Okay, but also we have constraints. So this is the third part of the of solvers. For example, a constraint here is going to be, if you go and click add, you will say that instructors on duty cannot be greater than 4. Okay, I can't hire more than 4 instructors. Okay, this is kind of like a constraint. Otherwise, I will tell you hire like 1 million instructors and get 1 million clients. Okay, so there's a limitation for that. You cannot hire more than 4 instructors. And you click add. If you click add, it will just keep this on for you to add another reference. So for example, also the total clients, you say I can do, I can do between 7 and 14 every day. Okay, I cannot do greater than 14 because the limitation of the time, because I'm opening for like 6 or 7 hours. Okay, so I would say this cell is going to be less than or equal 14 and add it. And the same thing, this cell is going to be greater than or equal 7. Okay, so this cell value can be between 7 and 14, all right? You click add. Also, for example, the instructors here, you cannot hire 1.5 instructor, right? Otherwise, Excel will try that. So you want this to be an integer. So you want the full number. Okay, it's a 1, 2, 3, or 4. You cannot do that. So this is another constraint for this cell. And the same thing for this cell. So this cell has to be an integer. Okay, when you're done, you click just OK to exit the adding. So these are your constraints. This is your changing variables, and this is your objective function. Okay, you just click solve. Oh, sorry. I told you like Excel has used 3 mechanisms to use the solver. For now, we're going to use this one. You can go and read about them. There are some explanations in the book, and you can read them online. But in the test or in the assignment, I will tell you which one to use, okay? So for now, we're going to use this one. This, you click solve. And Excel already determined values for you. So the total clients should be 14, and the instructors are 4. And this will give you the maximum benefit, the maximum net income, which is 8,000. Okay. Then you have the chance to either keep the value or delete it. And you also have the chance to print a report. So if you click on that one and you click OK, you're going to see that a report is generated for you for your values. Okay. If you go back, for example, you click on solve, you're going to see all of your setup is there. Okay, so you might want to change some of your setup, or you want to change something, and you click solve, and it will recalculate again. For example, if you go and change your lesson fee, if you change your lessons, for example, into 120, and you run the solver again using the same setup. I don't know, it doesn't have any effects on it. So sometimes changing some of these values will yield different calculations. So Excel will find different answers for you. So if you want to keep running that, you just go and hit solver or solve and keep doing that, okay? But if these values are not changing or making any difference in the inputs, I'll just yield the same values. Okay, and that's it for today. Any questions? We tried? Yeah, give me a second.
Did the report, if you click on the solver